Yes, of course, I've liked and shared and voted in this online Count Binface poll. Isn't it hilarious? But don't get carried away. We're all aware, aren't we, of sampling bias. And we all remember the example of the 1936 American presidential election, don't we? Don't we? Okay. Let me take you back to 1936. What was happening? There was an American presidential election and polling was getting quite established by that time. We were doing polls and finding out what people thought in advance. And what we learned is that if you get a small sample, you're going to get a less reliable poll. So the Literary Digest set out to get the most accurate poll in advance of this election. They got responses from 2.8 million American voters. How could they possibly go wrong? At the same time, George Gallup was still setting up his Gallup polling agency, and he only sampled just under 30,000 people, so he was bound to be wildly wrong. So, the Literary Digest 2.8 million strong poll predicted confidently that Governor Alfred Landon was going to win the presidency with over 57% of the popular vote. What actually happened was this. Franklin Delano Roosevelt won by a landslide. He won all but 2 states. It was an absolute wipeout. George Gallup had got this right to be within 1.4% of the actual end results. And he'd only sampled 30,000 people. The Literary Digest had sampled 2.8 million. No, they got responses from 2.8 million. They'd asked probably twice as many as that. How did they get it so wrong? The answer, in the same way as with the Count Binface poll that we're all having fun with, it's a matter of who you ask. George Gallup and the Gallup organisation had gone out of their way to make sure they got a representative sample of American voters. For the 2.8 million plus respondents to the Literary Digest, they had built up this database from 2 major sources: the Register of Driver's Licences and the phone book. Now, you'd think driving licences and phone book was a fair representation of American society, a fair cross-section. Not in 1936 it wasn't. In 1936, if you owned a car and had a phone in your home, you were overwhelmingly middle class. Overwhelmingly the people who were likely to vote for the Republican, and what they were overlooking was the majority of people who didn't have phones, didn't have cars, and were going to vote for the Democrat, FDR. So, let us not forget the example of the 1936 election, sampling bias, and the Count Binface poll, which, let's have a look at it again, does make it look like 82% of people would vote for Count Binface and 11% of people would vote for Nigel Farage. 7% of people going to the effort of saying this is a waste of time and wasting their time doing it, which is fair enough. The thing is, the people who responded to this are overwhelmingly the sort of people who think, isn't it fun to make reform look silly? And 99.99% of us do not live in Clapton.